Ladies and gentlemen, check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. I'm going to do 3 segments a day on that channel. You'll see a different type of H.A. Goodman on that channel. More raw, uncensored, unfiltered, and I talk about a whole bunch of cool things. So check that out, H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. I just did about 2 new ones. This President Trump correctly. So you could send this segment to anyone who believes that Trump obstructed justice. He did not obstruct justice. I'm going to explain why he did not obstruct justice. I'm going to explain why the Mueller report was complete nonsense. Here's what he correctly stated today, because the media is like, he falsely stated this or that. They never treated Clinton, who actually bent the truth and circumvented reality more often than President Trump. And a lot of times with Trump, it's not that he is overtly saying something that's not true. It's that he has a difference of opinion on a contested issue. Then they say, well, he falsely claimed this. Donald Trump, based on the IG report, the whole witch hunt against me and my administration was a giant and an illegal scam, which is true. That's endless segments I've done on that. The House of Representatives should now get back to work on drug prices, healthcare, infrastructure, and all else. The Mueller report showed no collusion, no obstruction. Okay, this is true. 4 times the Mueller report stated the evidence was... They used a very peculiar phrase. The evidence was not sufficient. There was no evidence. It wasn't evidence not sufficient. Like, gosh, we had to just fall back on intent. There was sufficient evidence to charge Clinton for her email server crimes. James Comey fell back on intent. With the Mueller report, the way it was written, it was a public relations statement. Well, the evidence was not sufficient, although there was so much evidence there. There wasn't evidence. There wasn't evidence of a grandiose and elaborate plot. There wasn't evidence. That's why nobody was charged with the Trump Jr. meeting. Because Natalia Veselnitskaya was not part of a Kremlin operation headed by Putin to hack the DNC to give the country information that Bernie Sanders was cheated and thus giving the popular vote to Hillary Clinton. I tried to put all the propaganda spins into one. Get this. This is what Democrats and media would have you believe. Trump possibly worked with Russia to buy Facebook ads that nobody saw, most of which were seen after the election, and hack the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated, thus causing Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign, while at the same time giving Hillary Clinton a 3 million vote popular lead. That doesn't make any sense at all. They claim the Russians interfered, but then they also boast and brag about Clinton with a popular vote. So which one is it? But the issue here is the obstruction nonsense. Then you have, very interesting, one person who doesn't like Trump. The immediate rebuttal is a message. Well, Gerald Nadler, did you actually exonerate the president, Robert Mueller? No. Nobody. Okay, Comey did not exonerate Clinton. In fact, Comey covered up Clinton's crimes. Okay, Mueller never had to exonerate anyone in the United States of America, and in any court in any country. The prosecutor or the judge does not exonerate. Okay, well, the judge might, but the prosecutor does not. The prosecutor does not exonerate. The prosecutor tries to find out if there's evidence for allegations. In this case, President Trump never committed a specific crime. They tried to get him under the statute that I write in the Federalist. My article is below in the description of every segment I do, and also in the pinned comment. They tried to get him on a charge. There is no collusion statute. The statute they tried to use is the 18371 statute. This is a statute that talks about people who conspire to defraud the American population by utilizing agencies or by trying to deceive, by utilizing agencies against their stated purpose, or by trying to deceive the electorate or deceive citizens in some manner for their own purposes. Okay? It's a very broad statute that they say. The 18371 statute is what Comey and McCabe and others will be charged under eventually with Durham. But they tried to use that statute against Trump because they didn't have a specific crime that he committed. Okay? Comey leaked information and mishandled and stored classified records. He could have easily been prosecuted. That is against the law, what he did. Putting a classified document in your safe is against the law. That is a fact. Okay? That's what he did. So then when they say, well, he didn't leak information. Well, he leaked. He wrote a bunch of diary entries that are nonsense that were used as viewed as gospel by media and by Democrats. But then what he did is one of them that was classified, he put it in his safe. You can't do that. That's against the law. But what McCabe is going to get indicted under, and his indictments are imminent, is that he lied 3 times under oath for self-serving purposes with intent to lie, because his wife received hundreds of thousands of dollars from Terry McAuliffe and Democrats, and he should have recused himself, but he didn't. So he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal under the pretext of saying, look how tough I am against the Clintons. That is an actual crime. Okay? Trump did not commit a crime. What they tried to do is set up and frame him and say there was this big, elaborate, grandiose endeavor and plot to conspire against the U.S. It was nonsense. To obstruct, first of all, you can't obstruct justice on a crime that never occurred. No one said he went into a bank, broke into the place, and stole money. There was no evidence. The Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton. Alexander Downer was linked to the Clinton Foundation. The conflicts of interest there are profound. And then you have CrowdStrike, which gives the U.S. intelligence community, allegedly gives the FBI and everyone else pristine copies of DNC servers. Generally, the DA or the prosecutors of a city or state obtain the evidence themselves. They don't hire a third-party firm to collect evidence. This is unheard of. When is the last time that happened? And the United States government said, well, you know what? Let's utilize CrowdStrike because without just overlooking the fact that it was outsourced by Democrats. This is a third-party tech firm. They never got the U.S. government never looked at DNC servers. That led to the ODNI, the Office of Director of National Intelligence, and DHS, Department of Homeland Security reports to say, have warranty disclaimers, no guarantees for anything stated within the DHS report, and such judgments might be wrong, even high confidence judgments in the ODNI reports. The 2 intelligence reports, this is why, if I ever debated somebody, a pundit or somebody on the left who believes the Russia conspiracy nonsense, it would be easily debunked. Because you can't state that the U.S. intelligence community concluded this when they only have a high confidence assessment that they literally state such high confidence judgments could be wrong and based on facts that could be changing. They never made a conclusion, a statement of certainty. So the entire investigation was based on what possibly something could have taken place. This was a special counsel completely predicated on something possibly taking place. Then when they found out what they thought possibly could have taken place didn't take place, then they said, well, you obstructed our efforts to find out if something possibly took place that didn't take place. He never worked with Russia. There was no evidence that Joseph Mifsud, that he wasn't a Kremlin operative. He helped set up and frame Papadopoulos. So, and then you have this graphic. Here's what we learned from the Mueller testimony so far. Trump thought the Mueller investigation would destroy his presidency. Quote, destroy? Where was that? Trump was never interviewed because there was no crime that it was said to have committed. Clinton was interviewed because I was doing a lecture in the Oval Office on ICBM missiles. Now, what was I supposed to do? This was the early 90s. We didn't have all this technology. So I used a prop, an anatomical prop, because I had to go ahead and point out what certain missiles look like. What did you want me to do? Clinton was interviewed because he actually engaged in an unethical act, but then his thing was they lied about it. That was the crime. Crime wasn't the act. The crime was the crime was lying about what he did with the intern, Monica Lewinsky. So that's why he was interviewed. Trump was never interviewed because he never had to be. There was never a crime that he was said to have committed. So everything that he claimed to have said is through hearsay and gossip. If you Trump thought the Mueller investigation would destroy his presidency based on what? Jeff Sessions' staff members' recollection? Based on what? That's what it was. Staff members' recollection. Trump directed people to conceal information, to lie, and to fire Mueller. Well, the conceal information, what information did he say conceal? Because there was nothing that Mueller needed. Mueller had never stated, I needed this document, I needed that document, I needed that email, I needed that. Trump never withheld anything Mueller needed to prove either collusion or anything else. So, and he directed people to let Mueller go. He should have. He should have fired Mueller in a second. In the beginning of the whole thing, and he should have declassified everything afterwards. Okay, and the reason it took place was because Sessions, McCabe had a criminal investigation against Sessions. And Sessions was forced to recuse himself, and Rosenstein wanted to use the 25th Amendment and use a wire against Trump and all of these things. And so they said, well, you know what? We'll utilize Comey's memos. That's the pretext. But Mueller had no business. Mueller didn't even know who Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson were. The people who were the intermediaries, or actually Fusion GPS, the intermediaries between Clinton's law firm and Christopher Steele to purchase the dossier. Clinton purchased her own 12 minutes in. She's running. Yes, she's running. She'll announce October, November, December, January. I don't care when she announces. She's going to announce. This whole thing's a farce. And I feel bad for Joe Biden. I want him to get, rest and help. And, this is a serious issue now. This is not funny. This is not a joke. I'm not being amusing. Joe Biden needs to just, relax and focus on life and just look at Joe Biden. The poor guy, you think he wants 8 more years in the most stressful, toughest position in the world? And President Trump is doing a great job in terms of the economy, 3.7% unemployment, first president to step foot in North Korea. He's doing a great job. Prison reform legislation, he's doing a great job. Then when the stock market goes up, people say, well, it's not an indicator of economic health. And then when it goes down, oh my gosh, it's Trump's fault, so you can't win. But anyway, Mueller found multiple instances of Trump obstructing justice. No, he didn't. It's all hearsay here. Here's what, okay, first of all, we found out from the IG report, the numerous IG reports, that Comey was not only crooked, Comey was insubordinate. This is while he was FBI director in his first stint in his tenure before Trump forced him to leave. He was insubordinate numerous times. Okay, so they want to have you believe that him firing Comey was was meant to stop the Flynn investigation. There was no Flynn investigation. Michael Flynn. This is another thing that people are obsessed with. He did nothing wrong. There was zero link to Flynn in Russia. Zero. What about this? What about that? He wasn't indicted on anything to do with Russia. The only thing they charged him with was lying to Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok said, we will stop Trump. The second Peter Strzok was known as the person who interviewed Flynn. The whole court, his case should have been completely thrown out with prejudice. This is unbelievable. So it's like they already reviewed his calls. If Trump told Comey, let's say Trump told Comey to drop the Flynn case, he had every right to do so because there was no evidence of any crime. It was a private conversation. He wasn't ordering Comey to do anything because he would have done that. If that were the case, Comey should have resigned then and there. You see, Comey should have resigned then and there if he saw an illegal act take place by the president. You don't then write memos that are just fiction and, like my Motorhead shirt, you don't just write memos that are pure fiction and then say, oh, well, this really happened. Where are the memos about President Obama's decision to drink Flint water in a shameful publicity stunt to deceive people? Where are the memos between Obama, Biden, and Clinton regarding how they came up with the failed NATO intervention that ended up destroying Libya? But here, the report says these 10 instances, this is CBS, CBS News, conduct involving FBI Director Comey and Michael Flynn. Again, it's all gossip and hearsay from a memo that you have no idea is true. The president's reaction to continuing Russia investigation. What was he supposed to do? A backflip on national TV that he was so happy that he was being framed and set up? The president's termination of Comey. He had every right to terminate Comey. The IG stated that Comey was insubordinate and broke rules numerous times in the first IG report when he was still FBI director. The appointment of special counsel and efforts to remove him. The special counsel was started by memos that were leaked. And they say, well, it wasn't classified. They were still leaked for a purpose. This is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. They were leaked for a purpose, and there was prosecution recommended against Comey by the IG. Okay, a little bit different from Andrew McCabe, because Andrew McCabe is a complete slam dunk case. With Comey, they very likely need Comey to either testify against McCabe or for the bigger picture here. But efforts to curtail a special counsel's investigations. This is hilarious. The message instructed Sessions to publicly state that Mueller was very unfair and its scope would be limited to examining election meddling for future elections. So what? How does that interfere with anything? Clinton called an FBI investigation a matter, and we'll get to the fact that she wiped servers clean before giving, and then the rebuttal as well, you're supposed to do that with government property. No, the government's supposed to do that. This is hilarious. You see people like online. They're hilarious. They're like, well, Clinton, when she wiped her servers clean, that's what the government does all the time. It's like, yeah, the government, not individuals, and it's certainly not people who use private servers outside of the United States government without authority by the United. Who authorized this? There was no gray area. You can't walk into the FBI as an employee and have your own server. Are you kidding me? I mean, nobody believes any of this. Clinton actually did obstruct justice numerous times. Loretta Lynch, according to by this standard, Loretta Lynch obstructed justice, or Comey did, by calling the Clinton email investigation a matter. Then they called it a security review. Then the FBI's like, can we please have your servers? And then she completely deleted everything on the servers, wiped them clean. And then she goes, with a cloth? That actually is obstruction of justice because she's altering evidence. Trump, there was no evidence with Trump. It was all hearsay, gossip. He said this. Efforts to prevent public disclosure. Oh, here we go. The sixth instance stems from June 2016 meeting between top campaign aides and a Russian lawyer who was said to be offering damaging information about Hillary Clinton. So what? Clinton went out of her way to purchase a dossier that was complete nonsense. Then they want you to believe that the notion, because it all goes back to Clinton's server, if Natalia Veselnitskaya was actually giving emails, and by the way, she met before and after the Trump Jr. meeting with Glenn Simpson, who miraculously Mueller didn't know. Mueller had no clue who Glenn Simpson was. This is hilarious. Glenn Simpson is a central and key figure in all of this. Okay, he's the guy who helped start all of this along with Clinton. He was outsourced by Clinton through a law firm to purchase a dossier. This is so absurd. A dossier compiled by Christopher Steele, which was complete and utter nonsense. Nothing has been verified, and certainly nothing, because it's nonsense. The whole thing was complete bogus, and nothing was used for an indictment. If this was raw intelligence, why wasn't one part of the dossier used in any of the indictments? And the indictments of Russian intelligence officers were based on CrowdStrike assessment. So why didn't they use the Steele dossier to help indict anyone? Because it was complete nonsense. But anyway, and that was compiled allegedly with help from a Russian intelligence officer. Mr. Trump told his aides not to disclose the email setting up. Told his aides, who said this? According to whom? According to who? Who said that he told his aides not to publicly disclose the emails? Okay. This is all like, okay, one person claims he said this. One person under oath claims he said this. How do you know the person's telling the truth? People lie under oath all the time. Just ask Andrew McCabe or Clapper or Brennan or Comey. This whole entire saga is basically the it's a Democratic Party not only having reached a point of no return, but when Clinton's going to lose again to Trump, and it's going to be the end, the absolute end, and they're going to obliterate themselves. The Democratic Party will cease to exist because there's too much corruption. And Andrew McCabe is going to get indicted because it's an existential issue now. This is an existential issue. You cannot let the entire planet will know that there's if you are powerful or wealthy, and it doesn't matter what your background is or what your ethnicity or race or whatever. If you're powerful and wealthy, you'll get away with anything in the United States of America. If Andrew McCabe doesn't get it, if McCabe doesn't get indicted, the rule of law is like pretty much thrown into the garbage can. So he will. It's like an existential issue. Once he gets indicted, the roof caves in on the entire rotten edifice. Further efforts to have Attorney General take control of the investigation. So what? So what? Okay, that's another thing. Sessions should never have recused himself. Efforts to have McCann deny that the president ordered him to have the special counsel removed. So what? That's an internal dialogue between his White House counsel and himself. The special counsel should have been fired, and all of the information, and Mueller should have been questioned. Why didn't he know who Fusion GPS was? How can you start an investigation on Trump conduct if you don't know who Clinton hired? Conduct to purchase the Steele dossier to help start the investigation. Conduct towards Flynn, Manafort. Give me a break. This is all nonsense. Flynn did nothing, and Manafort, they actually tried to get they did get a lecture from the Ukraine. They're the ones who worked with Russians, or the Ukrainians, or foreign powers. But anyway, Hillary Clinton's emails data erased from server before handed to FBI. This is Wednesday, August 19th, Associated Press in Washington, 2015. Hillary Clinton's emails data erased from server before handed to FBI. Hillary Clinton's personal lawyer has told a Senate committee that emails and all other data stored on the Democratic presidential hopeful's private server were erased before it was turned over to government authorities. Okay, that is textbook obstruction, not somebody claimed something Trump was going to do something, but he didn't. There was an investigation. The FBI, the second that they demand evidence, it's an investigation. She wiped all the data clean and then handed a server with no data on it. She obstructed justice because they needed to know what was on that server. And then they had to go work overtime to allegedly find out, whatever was on the server, whatever. Look. And they didn't even find out how she transferred. When you ask Peter Strzok and McCabe and Comey, they did not find out how Clinton transferred top secret and special access program intelligence from secure locations. This is why you have these hilarious, intelligence analysts on Twitter. They're hilarious. If you ask them simple questions like, what is the specific crime Trump is said to have committed? They can't tell you because there was none. What is the specific crime that Clinton? Well, there was no crime and it was a gray area. No, there was. She stored top secret and special access program intelligence on servers that she owned, that she paid other people to service. How did that information get there? The fact that it was on servers that she owned is a crime. It doesn't. They're going to say, well, she didn't, and they're going to do everything they would never do with Trump. Well, she didn't personally transfer the emails. It's not her fault. You can't say that Clinton did it. It was other people. She didn't know. They would never give. First of all, it's ridiculous. Under 18 U.S. Code 371, it's even extreme careless. You don't have to do it on purpose. But of course you knew. And she had this information outside of the United States government. And that's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. You're talking about a complete mockery of the intelligence community. You're talking about people who you have otherwise, and this is what's really sad, you have otherwise intelligent people, even though liberals and Democrats, I used to be a Democrat my whole life, now I'm no party affiliation. They're intelligent people, but what you have is intelligent people. You have university, you have doctors, you have intelligent attorneys. Intelligence does not mean wisdom. Oftentimes, intelligence does not correlate with wisdom or emotional intelligence. You can have an intelligent person who just can't handle the truth. And so they act in an irrational manner. That's what's happening with Democrats. They have descended into this, like Pandora's box, this Alice in Wonderland of insanity. They believe nonsense, hearsay, gossip, these bizarre, stretched out legal theories, but they don't apply the same standard to Clinton when she literally gives the FBI evidence because the crime was transferring top secret intelligence to the United States government, completely wiped clean and deleted of information. That is the textbook definition of obstruction. And then the rebuttal, well, the government does that. Yeah, the government does that, not people. People don't wipe their own their computers in the government. The government does that. They give it to a department or an agency, and the agency does that. Clinton's attorneys did that. Clinton's attorneys are not part of the United States government. They should never have had agreements. They had immunity agreements signed, and they also had agreements that nobody could talk about the Clinton Foundation emails with Peter Strzok and the FBI. So the whole thing was a farce. But the average American, see, this is the thing. The average Democrat and liberal just needs one piece of information, whether it's gossip, hearsay, nonsense, propaganda, simply to just hold on to. And, okay, well, that's why Trump won. That's why we lost. Once Clinton runs again, and they're going to be forced to take that ride to Hades once again, you'll see that the Democratic Party as we know it will be completely and utterly obliterated. It's going to be a fantastic journey. Give me your thoughts below. Clinton's going to run again, and she's going to lose. Again, I wrote this in the Times of Israel and also in the Huffington Post. In 2017, I wrote that. Ladies and gentlemen, give me your thoughts below. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right this second. Thank you.